Henry Louis Gates Jr., and I'm a professor at Harvard University. I first became interested in the field of genetics when I was 9 years old. And it was the day that we buried my grandfather, and I was standing there looking at his casket, trying to figure out why he looked so white. And it turns out 40 years later, I got the answer through the science of genetics. Scientists analyzed my Y DNA, which is my Y chromosome. Remember, you have 23 chromosomes across your genome. And your Y DNA, if you're a man, you inherit from your father. Y DNA is what makes a boy, it makes a man, and it's an identical genetic signature or fingerprint. In analyzing my Y DNA, they were able to say that my grandfather looked like a white man because his grandfather was white. My great-great-grandfather, in other words, was an Irishman. That's right, I have something called the O'Neill haplotype that I inherited from my father, who got it from his father and from his father, and our haplotype is shared by 8% of all the men in Ireland. Well, genetics can not only tell you your own family tree or personal history, genetics reveals the history of the human species. 60,000 years ago, all of our ancestors, no matter what you look like today, whether you're Asian, whether you're black, whether you're Latino, whether you're white, European, all of our ancestors were black people living in East Africa. The human community evolved there, and for reasons that we don't know, 60,000 years ago, some of them decided to leave. Now, you all have families. You know why people would decide to leave. Probably two brothers got in an argument, or brother and sister got mad at each other. They said, split time, I am out of here. And not only did they leave whatever village they were living in, but they walked out of Africa. They walked through the Middle East, through India, to Southeast Asia, over a period of thousands of years. 20,000 years later, the same human community went north to what is now Europe, and to Southeast Asia, to mainland China, for example, to Japan. 15,000 years ago, the Ice Age came. So what did they do? They left the northern climes and went south again. Once the Ice Age passed, they re-migrated around the world. And so there are communities of people who share genetic mutations. And we can now recreate the history of mankind over the past 60,000 years, from the time that first group of human beings walked out of Africa, through your DNA, by doing precisely the same kind of genetic analysis of your haplogroups as scientists did to me, to show that I'm descended on my mother's side from an English woman, and on my father's side from an Irishman.